I call this meeting of the Henry County School Board to order. Mrs. Meeks, if you would, with roll call, please.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Ms. Renner? Here. Ms. Durden? Here. Mr. Becker?
Here.
Mr. Hardy?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Here. Mr. Hill? Mr. Bates?
Here. First item we have is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Mrs. Durden, we have a second.
I'll second the motion.
Second, I think I got Hardy and Whitlow on that one. All right, well, good. I think I heard Hardy first. I did. Yes, Dr. Lewis.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Ms. Patel was going to join us virtually. Mr. Clifton may have her on virtually.
Okay.
She did not join.
Okay, we're good. All right, thank you. So we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, unanimous. Want to welcome our visitors. Thank you very much for being out here with us. Enjoy that we're here at Bassett High School and intend to rotate our meeting locations over the next at least several months. Hopefully this will be a successful experiment and the beginning of something new. But I want to thank each of you for being here, and we will have quite a few recognitions. In fact, we put you up toward the top as soon as we finish with our invocation and pledge of allegiance. But again, thank you very much.
Order, march. March on, march. Order, halt. Left, face. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem or remain standing for the pledge of allegiance and invocation. Please, arms.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The invocation, please.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Chloe Wood, and I'm here with Parker Penix and Isaac Flanagan. We're a part of the FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes leadership team here at Bassett High School. We want to thank everyone for their support of this fruitful and growing club. Now let us pray. Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to be here and bringing everyone together in this new opportunity of a building to use for this wonderful meeting that we get to have with all the school officials, leaders, and community as well. I pray that you would lead this meeting and that you would be with all the conversations and the time that is spent here. We pray that our time is fruitful and that you are in the midst of it as your word promises you will be. And I pray that everyone has a great evening, keep everyone safe and healthy. Guide all the leaders of our schools. I pray that you continue to bless them with their safety as well as the students and the family safety of these schools in Henry County. I just pray that you continue to guide everyone in their decisions that we make, and I pray that we make it with a sense of unity and a sense of love and a sense of truth. Just be with everyone as we leave and we gather in our other homes and with other schools throughout the week. Thank you for everything. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. You all be seated.
Face, forward, march.
I just want to reiterate my thanks to the FCA, the band, the color guard, and all for wonderful presentations and efforts that give them the moment to take their triumphant exits with their leaders. But the first item I have in awards and recognitions is the VFW 5th District Teacher Recognition. I have presenters including Commander David Gillerin and Junior Vice Commander Joe Spells.
Commander David Gillen won't be able to join us tonight because of emergency popped up. But greetings to the board and Dr. Frank Lewis and our staff. Each year, VFW give awards out to middle school, high school, teacher of the year. And for the middle school, it's the Patriot Pen. They got to do a 400-word essay. High school is Force of Democracy, which Henry County, 5th district comes from Floyd County all the way down to Halifax County. So all the schools between Halifax to Floyd County is included. This year we were blessed enough to know that Henry County had 2 teachers win for the middle school and high school. And then Matt Vista also had a runner-up for the Force of Democracy. And the Veteran Foreign Royals recognized Alicia Britton as the 5th District of Virginia Middle School Teacher of the Year. Ms. Harrison or Dr. Boone here? Oh, Ms. Harrison. Luke Boone. Now, Ms. Harrison. The Veteran Foreign Royals recognized Joshua Dawes as the 5th District Virginia High School Teacher of the Year. Ms. Again, I want to thank Dr. Lewis and her staff for all the work they did to get all this information for the teachers to be able to enter this contest. Thank you.
All right, next up, I have student recognitions, and beginning with Bassett Football Postseason Awards, Coach Johnson.
I'm going to ask Ms. Carlton to come help. But good evening, Chair, members of the board, Dr. Blake Lewis. First and foremost, thank you for recognizing these young athletes, because we know how important our student athletes are to this county, and I appreciate that. But first, I'm going to get started. When I call your name, guys, you come down and receive your award from Ms. Carlton, and then you'll head over to the staircase for pictures. First, we got Parker Penix. He was an all-district lineman. Parker Penix. Javaris Faulkner was an all-district wide receiver and defensive back. Next up, we got Keelan Price Kent. He was an all-district wide receiver. Next is Cameron Hodge. He was an all-district defensive lineman. Next is David Cook. He was all-district and all-region quarterback. We got Isaac Flanagan, all-district offensive line. Next is Aaron Osgood, all-district wide receiver. We got Tyrell Hairston, all-district linebacker. Next is Zyreek Mans, all-district defensive back and all-region defensive back. Next is Jakari Menifee, all-district defensive back. Jashawn Turner, all-district defensive back and all-region defensive back. Next is Jalen Craig, all-district linebacker and all-region linebacker. And then last, we have Cole Bird. He was all-district kicker and punter, all-region kicker and punter, and he was first-team all-state kicker, Cole Bird. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for having them recognized here, and want to thank my administrative staff for all their support, and you all for all your support and what you do for our kids in this county. Thank you. Any parents want to get this picture?
Yeah, you gotta get your photo ops, come on.
Whereas school board members are elected or appointed to represent the interests of students, teachers, parents, and other stakeholders, and whereas school board members play a vital role in ensuring that students across the Commonwealth have access to a high-quality, rigorous education and are best positioned to uphold educational excellence in Virginia's schools. And whereas school boards are the governing bodies responsible for the oversight, success, transparency, effectiveness, and outcome of school systems across the Commonwealth. And whereas local school board members work for their community's parents, businesses, education professionals, and other community members to execute a shared vision of success for students. And whereas these decisions affect the present and future lives of children and chart a path to prepare all students to be productive workers in the Virginia economy, informed and engaged citizens in our pluralistic democracy, and responsible and good neighbors in our communities. And whereas School Board Appreciation Month acknowledges the contributions, dedication, and service of Virginia's local school board members, now therefore, I, Glenn Youngkin, do hereby recognize February 2025 as School Board Appreciation Month in our Commonwealth of Virginia, and I call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Bateman. In addition to the proclamation, we do have certificates of appreciation from the Virginia School Board Association for each of our board members. And I believe Ms. Easley would like to get a picture of you all together. So do we want to do that just standing in front here? Okay, so board members, when I call your name, if you would please come forward to receive your certificate and then remain there for a photo and then a special little gift after the photo. So Mr. Teddy Martin, Board Chair. Mr. Ben Gravely, Vice Chair. Mr. Thomas Onker. Miss Sherry Whitlow. Ms. Elizabeth Durden. Mr. Champ Hardy. Ms. Stephanie Brinegar. So before you go to your seats, wait, I remember I said hold tight for a gift. We put out a call across the division and we asked students to write letters of appreciation to our school board. And to say that some were funny and entertaining and just so heartfelt in their appreciation for you all is quite an understatement. So Mrs. Meeks has put together a book of some of those letters that were submitted, and then on the back we've attached a gift card to a local restaurant for each of our board members. So we hope that you enjoy reading these as much as we did when we were putting them together.
Next, I have on the agenda, School Board Clerk Appreciation Week, and I also have Mr. Bateman as a representative.
Whereas school board clerks in each locality throughout our great Commonwealth are appointed by law to fulfill their duties and responsibilities. And whereas school board clerks are responsible for keeping accurate records of the meetings and proceedings of the school board, a record of all receipts and disbursements, and a record of all official acts. And whereas school board clerks perform such other duties in connection with the school business of her or his county or city as may be required by the school board. And whereas school board clerks maintain frequent contact with the public, including parents, employees, and the media, on behalf of the school board and superintendent. And whereas school board clerks, in the performance of their duties, are often required to work extra hours attending school board meetings. And whereas school board clerks help to ensure students achieve their highest potential and provided an invaluable service for school board members and superintendents. And now, therefore, the VSBA Board of Directors does hereby recognize February 17th through the 21st of 2025 as School Board Clerk Appreciation Week in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Bateman. At this time, I also have certificates of appreciation from the Virginia School Board Association for our board clerk and our deputy clerk. At this time, I would like to recognize Ms. Brittany Meeks, our board clerk. So we also have fresh flowers and also a succulent dish garden prepared by the Bassett High School Horticulture Department. Do you want to try to hold this? Don't get, it's prickly. There you go. And then we would also like to recognize our deputy clerk, who's going to have to switch off her photo duties for just a moment. Miss Tammy Easley is our deputy clerk. Uh-oh. There you go. And a photo together. Yes, perfect. I am sure that the board joins me in expressing just beyond words the appreciation that we have for Ms. Meeks and Ms. Easley. They do so much to make sure that our operations are smooth for each meeting, and then all of the work that happens in between our meetings as well. So they are both indispensable. I think you would agree with me that we would be lost without them, and so we are certainly happy to recognize them this evening.
And our next item is African American History Month, and Mrs. Milner is on.
Whereas February is recognized and commemorated in the United States as Black History Month, and we recognize the people, historic events, and cultural moments that have shaped American and the world history in our society today. And whereas the Commonwealth of Virginia at Fort Monroe was the site where the first Africans were brought in shackles to the Americas as slaves, and later Fort Monroe served as the first legal safe haven for freedom seekers before the Emancipation Proclamation. And whereas throughout American history, Black Virginians have shown resilience and perseverance through political, social, and cultural oppression, from slavery through Jim Crow and massive resistance, and have risen above to shape our lives today in countless ways. And whereas Virginia was home to so many distinguished and impactful Black Americans, including civil rights pioneers Oliver Hill, Spotswood Robinson, Booker T. Washington, Dr. Robert Bruce Martin, Maggie Walker, Dorothy Height, and Mary W. Jackson, to name a few. And whereas Virginia legal pioneers Oliver Hill and Spotswood Robinson dedicated their lives to civil rights activism, working through the NAACP Legal Defense Fund on major cases including David V. County School Board of Prince Edward County, which was one of 4 lawsuits decided under Brown versus Board of Education, enacting historic desegregation in schools across the country. And whereas Virginia educator pioneer Dr. Robert Bruce Martin served as Hampton Institute, later Hampton University, and succeeded Booker T. Washington as principal of Tuskegee University. And whereas businesswoman and community leader Maggie Lena Walker, born in 1864 as the Civil War raged across Virginia, achieved national prominence as the first woman in the United States to establish a bank. And whereas Richmond native Dorothy Height, a civil rights champion, served as president of the National Council of Negro Women and co-organized alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. the March on Washington in 1966. And whereas mathematician and aerospace engineer Mary Jackson from Hampton, Virginia, was NASA's first Black female engineer, where she worked for 34 years and was an essential part of the Hidden Figures team that successfully launched American astronauts into space. And whereas Black Virginians continue to shape the economic, cultural, and political landscapes of Virginia and the country. And whereas today we recognize the historical obstacles and injustices that have been overcome, the work yet to be done, and stand in celebration for the successes of those who dare to challenge odds and barriers. And we remain committed to a bright future of opportunities for all. Now therefore I, Glenn Youngkin, do hereby recognize February 2025 as Black History Month in our Commonwealth of Virginia, and I call this observance to the attention of our citizens. I'd also like to acknowledge, there's some photos here in the front. Ms. Easley was able to gather these photos, and they are highlighting some of our African-American one-room schools of the past. And if you take a look, it would be great to recognize some of those, acknowledge some of those individuals and some of the handwriting, and some of it's light, you can't see it, but we're just so happy to have that memorabilia to recognize those one-room schoolhouses. And so we thank her for that project of bringing that together. And I think she had a contributor from the community that helped her with that, but we're thankful for that. Also, as we begin to celebrate this Black History Month, I also am excited to share that Reverend Tyler Milner shared some artifacts with us that we have been able to capture and highlight in both of our high schools. So here there's a Black History display located in the library, and there's one also located at Magna Vista High School. He shared a lot of his personal artifacts with us, and we were able to take time and get those together. Mr. Schaller from one of our high schools helped, along with Ms. Sue Towns, to organize that information so that our students are able to see some local African-American history. And I will let you know that we have invited Mr. Tyler Milner to come in next week to take a look at those displays that we have, and so that he will see that we didn't just receive the artifacts, but we've actually displayed them for students to enjoy. Thank you.
It's quite a few months and weeks and other recognitions, but Career and Technical Education Month, Dr. Smith.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Blake Lewis, and members of the school board. Whereas every student in the Commonwealth should graduate from high school prepared for success in life, and whereas career and technical education allows for the exploration of career pathways, development of workplace skills, stackable certificates, and industry-recognized credentials that prepare students for high-demand careers in the Commonwealth. And whereas career and technical education is the foundation of a strong, well-educated workforce that that fosters productivity in the industry and contributes to Virginia's leadership in the global economy. And whereas career and technical education offers lifelong learning opportunities that provide individuals with marketable skills, exposure, experience, and expertise in promising careers, and expanded post-secondary options that ensure higher earning potentials, job satisfaction, and long-term goals for their futures. And whereas the cooperative and ever-increasing efforts between career and technical educators, administrators and businesses, and industry representatives stimulate the growth of the Commonwealth's economy by preparing students for high-demand, high-skill, and high-wage fields. And whereas the national theme of Career and Technical Education Month is to celebrate today, own tomorrow, demonstrates the crucial role that career and technical education plays in readying Virginia students for lifelong success. Now therefore I, Glenn Youngkin, do hereby recognize February 2025 as Career and Technical Month in our Commonwealth of Virginia, and I call this observance to the attention of all citizens. I would also like to share some of the CTE happenings across Hamer County at this time. Our new GoTech space at FC Middle School is up and running, and we will also hold our CTE Advisory Committee meeting there for February next week. Dr. Yuri and the GoTech program has partnered with PlyGym, and they have developed engaging lessons on lean manufacturing principles, a key component of manufacturing engineering. They've also taken a trip to P&H's motorsports department. At Laurel Park Middle School, Ms. White and Ms. Kaiser's classes are starting their greenhouse work, which will be open in April. and they're also beginning shop projects this month as well. Mr. Richards students are learning about engineering design processes and software applications and earning the programming certificates using the nucleus curriculum for the Spiro Bolt Robotics Club. Ms. Vernon's GoTech classes are learning about healthcare careers while using hands-on items like the CPR dummy, AED trainers, and making prosthetic hands and working with stethoscopes. In the leadership class at the middle school, the 7 Habits of Healthy, Efficient Teens is being conducted as a book study with those students. Mr. Turner's 6th grade students are starting their prosthetic hand project as well. Career Academy conducted tours for all 10th grade students for both high schools, and we will be hosting the Cosmetology Area Skills Competition on February 26th. Our CMA students will compete in the Anatomized Table Tournament on February 14th in Stafford, Virginia. Also, Career Academy will be hosting a expo on March the 18th for current and potential students, families, businesses, and community partners. Magna Vista High School is currently selling Valentine's Day roses in their horticulture department, and Bassett High School's culinary division will be catering our National Technical Honor Society reception, as well as their FFA is currently holding mock interviews for students who will be competing at the national convention. We would also like to again welcome all of you, or extend an invitation to you, to our National Technical Honor Society induction ceremony, which will be held here at Bassett High School on February 26th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
School Resource Officer Appreciation, and our presenter is Dr. Benden, as we clarified earlier of our many booms.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Whereas the Commonwealth of Virginia is dedicated to making schools safe for all students, faculty, staff, and the communities they serve, and whereas school resource officers are critical members of the educational community who dedicate their lives to keeping students and schools secure, and whereas there are over 1,000 exceptionally trained, dedicated men and women in law enforcement who serve as school resource officers in our elementary, middle, and high schools, providing support and encouragement and serving as role models, law enforcement officers, and educators. And whereas school resource officers serve across the Commonwealth as partners with school staff to ensure students have a safe place to learn. And whereas the Commonwealth of Virginia has one of the longest running, most robust school resource officer programs in the nation. Now, therefore, I, Glenn Youngkin, do hereby recognize February 15th, 2025 as School Resource Officer Appreciation Day in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens. At this time, I'm going to call out each resource officer's name who's here tonight. Several of our resource officers are working ball games, because that's one thing I do want to point out. Not only do they work in our schools during the day, but the majority of them work at ball games. They field phone calls in the evenings. They do home visits. I really can't express my gratitude with our partnership enough with the Henry County Sheriff's Office for keeping our buildings safe and keeping our community safe. But as I call each officer down, I'm sure we're going to want to get a group photo, so if you'll stay down here until everybody makes their way down. And if each building principal, when I call that resource officer down, will come down and take a photo with that officer. So at this time, will Officer Mike Blevins from the Center of Community Learning come down? Officer Robert Gillespie, Stanleytown Elementary School. Officer Steve Pegram, Career Academy. Officer Chris Price, Campbell Court Elementary School. Officer Kenny King, Druid Mason Elementary School. Officer E.C. Stone, Rich Acres Elementary School. Officer Andy Petty, Meadowview Elementary School. Officer L.C. Jones, Axton Elementary School. Officer John Accord, Sandville Elementary School. And these two individuals, they don't work in a base school, but they have a huge role in looking over the safety and security of our buildings. So if Lieutenant Jason Keller and Captain Sandy Hines would also come down. I just want to point out the other officers, all of them are pretty much working ball games this evening, so dedicated individuals. I'd like to give them all one more big round of applause.
I want to say thank you again to our officers here this evening, as well as those who couldn't join us. Appreciate what you do for us. We'll say you deserve more than a day, but hey, that's the government. So, appreciate you. Up next, we have public comment, and we have several signed up to speak. I will call you in order, and before I will read the typical statement. So for matters presented by the public, this is the time for public comment. That means we are here to listen to you, not to engage in a question and answer period or debate. On arrival at the podium, please state your name, your subject matter, and the district in which you live. By coming to the podium, you have agreed that you will exhibit respect for the board and its members, as well as the staff and students of Henry County Public Schools. You will receive the same consideration from the board. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Our first speaker is Ms. Sherry Vessel.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Blake Lewis, administrators and guests. My name is Sherry Moran Vestal. I'm a member of the Blackberry District. I have been retired almost 3 years, but I was employed by Henry County Public Schools for 34 years as the school nurse coordinator. I am definitely not a politician. In fact, I have shied away from politics, especially local, state, and national, because I was born in a family where my father was on the Henry County Board of Supervisors for 34 years, and I ate Henry County government all day long. I love Henry County Public Schools, and especially the co-workers and the students that I worked with. And I did not want to retire. But at the time, my 93-year-old mother begged me to come out and stay with her at home more. I now work part-time as a community outreach nurse, and I own Babel's Bakes, LLC, which is a bakery in my home. I wanted to announce that in November, my name is going to be on the ballot as a candidate for school board for the Blackberry District. I have 2 granddaughters at Samville Elementary, and I want to work with the board to make sure that they, as well as all students, succeed and have the best education possible. My #1 goal is happiness and retention of the teachers by improving communication between staff and administration. When I first mentioned that I was considering to run for the position, I had teacher after teacher, bus driver, and aides contact me with their concerns. They relayed to me that they love their jobs, but they feel that they couldn't speak their mind or make suggestions without repercussion. As with all administration, changes are made. Not all changes are bad. Each employee should be able to voice their concerns if the new plan doesn't quite work as good as it should, and they should feel comfortable doing so. I want all the residents of Blackberry District to know that I'm very open-minded. I believe that there are 2 sides to every story, and that I want to be actively involved and see for myself. I know that the board is comprised of 7 members, and if elected, I will only be one of those 7, but I have promised every employee that has contacted me that I will do my best to not only represent the Blackberry District, but for Henry County as well. I believe 100% that a happy teacher is a winner all the way. A happy teacher wants to be at school sharing lessons and helping the students. Students talk in a happy environment learn better when they are comfortable in their surroundings. I want to see all teachers and staff convey their excitement and love for their jobs while challenging, educating, and nurturing our children in a supportive environment. My second main goal is safety. Henry County has an amazing safety plan that I was fortunate to be a part of when I was employed here. Whenever I went out of town on conferences with my coworker, we were so ahead of the game, not only in the state, but nationally. So I think we need to be commended on our safety plan. One part of safety is discipline, though. I believe that we need to be very strict in discipline for the students, not only at school, but on the bus. In my opinion, it's a privilege to ride a bus back and forth to school every day. And if you have a student that continues to disrupt the bus route, it's not only a safety issue, but it's a potential liability to the school system. And the student should be removed for a period of time. Please know that I'm excited about the possibility of joining the board, and I believe that I have a lot to offer. But I have a lot to learn from each one of you as well. Even though I worked for the division for 34 years, I have a lot to learn. Again, I believe that we have a great school system, but I've been really concerned just about a few things, and we need to absolutely do whatever we can do to provide the best education possible in Henry County, because these students are our future. Thank you so much.
Next speaker is Mr. Ray Reynolds.
My name is Ray Reynolds. I'm going to give thanks for the school, safety. I live in the Blackberry District, and I was comfortable when I heard Ms. Vestal speak. She made me nervous. She spoke eloquently. She said a lot of things I want to go over. The safety of the schools has been an issue over the years, and the last 4 or 5 years, the board members we have now have put resource officers in each school. Best thing we've ever done. We have security at the ball games, outside and inside, which I had advocated 4 years ago. The one thing I want to do while I'm here is give a shout out to the band. I know they're gone right now, 12 straight years, state titles. That's unheard of. I want to make sure that the football team continues to grow. I know in 2 or 3 weeks they're going to be getting a weight room. A lot of people don't realize in 2000, 2001 I was president of Kiwanis, and we had set aside $25,000 toward the weight room. Basket furniture had matched it, but they couldn't get a weight room because at that time Maine Vista didn't have the money for one. So we've had to wait 25 years to finally get the field house outside, which we really needed. The Career Academy is really expanded. I know they're adding auto body, and I know in the future they're going to have EMT and firefighter future programs. That's something we need as trades back in school. With me being a contractor for 40 years, we need a workforce outside. Electrical and plumbing's hurting really bad right now. I know you got, I think, HVAC in the schools, which is great. The announcement about the roof at Law Park was great to hear, because the 1% that we fought for, that we got back, we finally getting to use it. The pledge I want to make right now is the past supervisors we have now have fought to take the 1% from the schools. That's why I'm running. I want to make sure if I'm elected to Blackberry, I'll make a pledge to everybody in here that 1% will stay at the schools and be used for what it's supposed to be. I just, you know, what happened last time, the 1% was give back to the school and then the budget was cut. The one thing I'll make sure of, the budget will not be cut to take your money from you. I want to support the schools. I think before there were 131 out of 132 as far as support from the supervisors. I don't think that's right. The schools need to get more support from the supervisors. I think with Garrett Dillard, Chris Lawless gets elected, Pam Copper, I think 4 of us together can make sure the schools have money sufficient to take care of what they need. I'm not sure about FC Middle School roof and Sample roof, but I think they're out of warranty. They need to be replaced. The turf, you know, I had advocated for turf at the field because, I think over a 10-year period, you'd save around $700,000 to $800,000 in maintenance. So that's a future thing, and I want to see if I can get on the board of supervisors. I want to see turf put on the field before I leave. I got great working relationship with Mike Renner. When he was AD at Magna Vista, we had some good times together. He was great at the Career Academy at Bassett. He's put Bassett back on the map. And I want to congratulate him for the job he's done. Keith Scott's here tonight. I saw new equipment going on the roof at Sample, the roof at Law Park, been taken care of. Keith has stepped up to make sure that the schools are in great working condition. I want to commend him for the job he's done. You know, the funding that the Board of Supervisors give is not enough. I want to change. I don't want to take away from your public safety or from your law enforcement, but I want to make sure that the schools are provided for adequate. As a supervisor, I want Blackberry to be a better place for everybody to live, and I will do all I can to support the schools every way possible. My door will always be open. Once I'm a supervisor, you can call me anytime, day or night, and I will address your concerns. I hope in November I'm on the ballot, that the people here in Blackberry will go ahead and check my name, and that way I can help the schools continue to grow. And I thank y'all for giving me a chance to speak.
Next up is Miss Mary Martin.
Which I'm happy I got a little notepad. Good evening, board members, and Dr. Blake Lewis, and all you other fine folks that keep our schools in good shape. I'm kind of just here to talk a little bit about a little more open communication between the boards and the administration and anybody that has an issue. It seems like it's a continuing thing and it's not getting solved, so I'm gonna make a suggestion tonight, and it is only a suggestion, that perhaps if you have something that you're really unhappy with, get with your school board member and set up a one-on-one meeting with Dr. Blake Lewis. And y'all talk about what the problem is. I feel very comfortable that there's not gonna be any repercussions for that. The days of Sharon Dodson are over, because we all, if you remember then, you know how she was, if anybody disagreed with her. But that could be something that you could do. And I'm comfortable with every one of y'all paying attention to people that contact you and trying to do what you were elected to do. And I'm very comfortable with Dr. Blake Lewis, that she's fair-minded and open-minded. There's so many things that goes on that a lot of people in the schools and stuff don't realize, that this administration is trying to do to help teachers, students, and everybody. We are currently in the process of trying to set up the Henry County Public Schools Foundation. And I'm very honored to be a part of that process. And what we hope to accomplish with this foundation is to have additional resources to support our teachers if they need something additional that's not in the budget, to support our students, to support our athletes, and to do anything else that we can do to help anyone in the school system that we don't have the money in the budget for, because we know getting that budget increase is like pulling hen's teeth, you know, just don't work that way. But I'm hoping that all of you call your legislators, you vote for them, you put them in office, you can take them out of office. They have emails, they have phone numbers. Send them a letter, send them an email, and just say, hi, this is my name and I'm on the Henry County School Board, and this is why I'm not happy with the money we're getting. This is what we need help with. Let them hear from you. I love going down there. They're not crazy that I'm there, but I love going down there. But I you know, Ms. Vestal, she made some good points about the security, and I know the security's good here. I like to never got in the front door. I thought I was gonna have to pull my pants leg up and show them my new titanium knee. They had checked everything in my purse and it was still dinging. But anyway, I just want to tell you that I'm proud of all of you, and I'm proud of this administration and this school system. Like I said, my children went through here, my grandchildren, got great-grandchildren in here now, got a daughter in her 31st year of teaching here, and she doesn't stay that long if she's not happy. And she is very happy with her school situation now, with her administration, and that says a lot, because I've heard a lot from her over the years, good and bad. So that's good, and I'm real happy we had all of our resource officers here tonight. I'm so happy that we have one in all the schools now. That's something that's been so sadly missing. So I'm happy that we've got that, and I would just like to encourage anybody with issues and complaints, address them directly. Like I say, you can get some one-on-one time. That's the only way you're gonna fix it, because I've been in management of some sort for 30 years. And one person that's unhappy can spread it to 10 more. So you need to stop whatever's going on and not be afraid to step forward and have a private conversation. I haven't discussed this with any of the board or with Dr. Blake Lewis. This was just something that came off my head, you know, as it might help. So I wish all of you.
Well, next we have Mr. Curtis Milner.
Good afternoon. I'm Curtis Milner. I'm a lifelong resident of the Archwood District. I think some of you realize that I have over 50 years with the Henry County Schools as a student, teacher, and school board member. I'm here tonight as a member of the American Legion. The American Legion is an organization that was formed in 1918, at the end of World War I in Paris, France. Right now we're in all 51 states, 7 foreign countries, the largest veteran organization there is. We realize that the sacrifices that we've made over the years and are still making will be futile if we don't have someone to replace us. So we're interested in our youth, very interested in our youth. To wit, we have a number of programs to offer to our youth, and we would like for you all to take advantage of these. I had no problem getting students when I was on the school board. The counselors and the principals knew me, but that's all changed now. The last few years, we've not had very good participation. I'm talking about American Legion Boys State of Virginia. A 1-week program. Boys State will be given at Radford University during the month of June. 1 week during the month of June. It's $500 per delegate. The American Legion will be paying that bill. We ask for your help in getting a few students to go. We also have Girls State. Girls State is offered at Longwood University during the month of June. Matter of fact, June 15th through the 20th. A very prestigious program. We need someone to attend that. We've not had anyone from this area to go to that in the last 5 years. We think in the American Legion that the information is not getting to the students. Therefore, we need your help. We also have the American Legion Department of Virginia Youth Cadet Law Enforcement Program. This is a one-week program at the Virginia State Police Academy in Richmond. The student must be a rising senior, male or female, must have a valid Virginia driver's license or learner's permit. The cost for that is $200 per student. Once again, the American Legion will be paying that. These programs offer leadership opportunity. I know what's taught in the school system, and I know the limits of what you can teach. What we're offering is above and beyond what's taught in the school system. We encourage you to take advantage of this. And for our elementary students, we still have the flag etiquette classes. We offer to the 5th grade students. We would like, if at all possible, to start in September. We would like for at least 2 schools per week so we can get the schools in Martinsville and Henry County taken care of. This is to teach the students about flag etiquettes, pride in and respect for the American flag. We still offer a scholarship, and we're disappointed. We have students apply, they receive it, and they never come and ask for the money. So we need help in getting students for all of this. If you need someone to come around to your school and talk to your juniors, I'm willing to do that. Once again, I say that we realize that these students are our future. Thank you.
And our last speaker is Minnie Mullins.
Ladies and gentlemen of the school board, Mr. Hardy especially, Dr. Blake Lewis, I'm a parent of the Ridgeway District. I've listened tonight to people who are running for the Blackberry District speak of our children and their safety. It's interesting that I was here in 2020 advocating for our teachers. I'm here tonight to advocate for our students. You're failing them. Our children do not feel safe in school. They think that a metal detector is safe. They do not realize that there's plenty of real estate from that parking lot to that metal detector. I want to educate you on a term that I learned this week called Swiss cheese. A term that was said to my daughter in her classroom and posted on a banned word wall. Swiss cheese means to shoot holes in you. The student who said this was not sent out of the room because the teacher utilizes a banned word wall. The core principles on your website says we value respect, we act with integrity, we strive for excellence, we promote equity, and we put students first. You have lied. Student safety is not first. I have spoken in length with Dr. Boone, her teaching team, Mr. Hardy, Ms. Milner, who also informed me that it's the public school system, it's public education, as if I am expected to lower my expectations of what you're to do. This statement was made when I made it known that I am looking into alternatives such as Excellus, a homeschool program, and Carlisle. Not so much that Carlisle's better, but they're safer. They have their own set of issues, but they're safe. I find myself concerned that I can go to greatschools.com, which is attached to real estate sites such as Zillow, and see that Laurel Park Middle School is ranked 3 out of 10. The most current reviews are from June 2024, September 24, and October 2024. I brought those printed out tonight, but I'm not allowed to hand them to you due to a policy that these ladies said they would email to me, but never asked for my email address to do so at a later time, I'm assuming. I find that lacking. I find that on this, you have students who say, and I quote, "I can't give it to you, but I'll read it to you. This school is honestly the worst place ever. So many fights and so much bullying. I just can't pay attention in class. Teachers are expected to deal with students who misbehave for about 20 minutes-ish per class before they're able to educate the students who are there to learn. I have AB students who are luckily capable of drowning it out. Should they have to? Absolutely not. When asked about the policy for what it takes to remove students, I'm shown a flow chart eventually because I had to ask for a second meeting. I wasn't given this information the first time I asked in the face of full transparency, which I, as a parent, as the ones who elect you, as the ones who represent other parents speaking, deserve and should be afforded. Did you know that we have an anti-bullying policy? I'm sure you do. Yet another lie. Because for a child to be removed from a room for any offense, it has to be considered chronic. The definition of chronic is more than once. Let that sink in. A child who is bullied has to be bullied more than once for it to be deemed necessary to remove the problem. Another thing on here for these reviews, ladies and gentlemen, is that as a student in the 7th grade, I wish to move schools. Fights happen every day. I feel unsafe in this school. The teachers don't care for the students. The teacher emotionally abuses us. Everyone here is heartless and mean. People bullying each other. I'm scared to even come to school. That's not the whole review. I mentioned this to Dr. Boone 2 occasions when I spoke with him Friday and yesterday. And by the way, I did invite Dr. Boone here tonight, and I see he chose not to come. His statements in regards to these reviews, anybody can leave a review. I don't have a name. What student is that? How do you know it's valid? What child is going to put their name out there that's being bullied to subject themselves to further retaliatory action? There's also one from an adult.
Ms. Mullins?
Yes, sir. Is my time up?
Well, actually, each speaker kind of went over their time, and I kind of gave each of them a deference. You're currently at 5 and 6 minutes.
Good. I hope you listened to the time that I gave you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I've got you. I was just want to give you an opportunity to wrap up.
Oh, yeah. Let me go ahead and wrap up. The fact that someone who is an employee states that it's just public education says a lot. I chose my home based on the public education of Rich Acres. My advice, those of you who are running for office, take a visit. They have expectations, they set them, they honor them, and they're dropped at that middle school level. Have a good day and thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, we are up to the information agenda, the first item of which is a presentation on Bass High School. Mr. Minner, you are up.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just to give you a couple of updates, we walked around the building so you could see some of the things that were taking place, and I'm just going to highlight a few things that I did not show you on the tour, but are things that I feel like are important for us. Attendance here matters every day, so we have these charts that are going to go up in our building talking about attendance specifically. When you miss 2 days a month, you miss 20 days a year, you miss 25 hours of math, you miss 50 hours of reading and writing, and you'll miss 1 school year towards graduation. It's important for us. And I think it's important to highlight that this current school year, we have reduced our attendance to 12%. So 12% less students are absent than compared to last year. And what that also equates to is that our chronically absent students, students who miss 15 or more days, was 115 last school year at this time. This year it's 72. So we've really done a reduction of work. We worked hard on making sure our students feel welcome when they're here. They know that they're appreciated when they're here. Also, what you see here is we have these students are perfect attendance. Every month we do a perfect attendance award, and we hand out gift cards as part of our project graduation opportunity. So our students here, this is just one group that we gave gift cards to. So it's one of those things we do every month. We'll be celebrating January and December this month because December's testing, so we didn't want to interrupt testing. Then we had some snow days. So the next thing we started was we started some new traditions here at Bassett High School. And so through some thoughtful work with Mr. Keith Scott and Dr. Blake Lewis, we look for opportunities to celebrate seniors and the accomplishments over the last 3 years going into their senior year. And we highlight that by offering them the opportunity to paint their parking spot. So we had a few students, and when you leave the parking, you'll see that there are painted parking spots. We did have a lot of staff who wanted to do the same thing. So the staff also paid a fee, and they were able to paint their own parking spots. We did not have a lot of senior tiles that were chosen here at Bassett High School, but I know Magna Vista is doing those. But we are going to start painting blocks in the cafeteria hallway to celebrate and leave that legacy of I'm White Mentor and I'm going to this school, or I'm going to the military. So we did start some new trends with that as well here. Throughout our hallways, we thought it was important to capture students who were actually in our building. And so we got a team together this summer, and we worked on taking pictures from the previous year's yearbook and finding meaningful quotes that would highlight the goals, the expectations we had in our building. And here's just 2 examples of those. One of the other things we thought, and we went to the tour of the space with our EL students, is we felt that we needed to make sure that we were inclusive with all students and make sure that every student knows they have a home here at Bassett High School. So during Hispanic Heritage Month, we had a group of students who asked, could they do something? So we said, absolutely. That was easy for us to say to students that, yes, you can celebrate those things that you want to highlight as well. So during Hispanic Heritage Month, these posters went up in our hallways, and they're throughout the entire building as well. Our SOL data, we feel like it's important for students to be hands-on learners, to be engaged throughout the day. And through our first semester SOL scores and through our benchmark scores, we have seen some growth in all areas of academics. So in our English, we went up about 3%. In math, we went up about 2%. Our history and our science went up 2 or 3% as well. And we expect staff to be working with students on a daily basis to increase those scores for this upcoming semester. When I came in, I told the staff it's not going to be easy, but I told them it's going to be worth it. And so that mantra is in my office, and every time that we have meetings, whether it be the administration staff or staff meeting with teachers or meeting with students, that is right behind me. So that's the one thing they always see above my head. The other thing is we're going to be consistent because consistency in what we do and in our actions and our behaviors is how we build excellence. So those are 2 of the mantras that we live by on a day-to-day basis here in our building. Our staff started in this room for day 1, and I have to say a huge thank you to our staff because what we did in this meeting was we established our expectations for staff and for students, because not only is it important for students to understand where we're coming from, but staff need to know what we expect to do on a daily basis. We've communicated that information on a weekly basis with our Bingo brief, and we've made sure that students and parents and staff are informed of what we're doing. We've introduced some new things, our open gate system. We introduced Executive Order 33, and I have to say it's amazing when you go in our cafeterias now, you see students talking to each other. That's something that didn't happen with cell phones, but that's actually interaction between students talking to each other. We bought some games to which they can play Uno and things like that in there. Our mantra, if you've ever watched Ted Lasso, we had a couple of sayings with Ted Lasso about just believing in each other, believing in our students, and being there to support them. And I told them one of the things we started with was the happiest animal on earth is a goldfish. It's got a 10-second memory. So when you make a mistake, we can learn from it and we can move forward. So I want to say a couple of thank yous. I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be the principal here. I think it's been a dream come true. For me, so I appreciate that. I want to thank Dr. Blake Lewis and the support of her staff and the mentoring that we see on a daily basis. We talk regularly and we're able to support each other and our students in the building. In our meetings, it's about students first, and it always will be. But I want to also thank the 3 other people you see right there, because I can't do my job effectively without those 3 individuals and our athletic director, Mark Jones. So Mr. Simon, Ms. Carlton, and Ms. Boyd, you saw at Open Gate. Hopefully it wasn't too rough for Ms. Martin. But we do that every day, and we do it together as a team. What we have is a collective leadership. We bounce ideas back and forth off of each other to get each other better, to make this a better building for our students. So at this time, if you have any questions about things at Bassett, I'll be happy to answer.
I would say we appreciate you putting the students first.
Absolutely.
My joke is I think we questioned you to death on the tour.
We did have some good questions, yes.
Anything else from the board?
All right, thank you very much.
All right, well, the next item we have is the budget development, and Dr. Benton.
Good evening again, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Tonight's budget presentation, the numbers that will be provided, they have not changed since the January presentations. We just received word this afternoon that the House passed their budget and the Senate has voted on their budget, so we're waiting to see how all that's going to play out for the General Assembly with the governor. So we will be bringing you more information coming into March. But the exciting news is I do have feedback from our surveys that we gave the superintendent advisory committees, and so you'll see that towards the end of the presentation. For our mission statement and our vision statement, we want to showcase what the whole staff of Henry County Public Schools has been working on the past, since back in August. We've got a lot of feedback from parents, from staff, from our students, and we just kind of want to showcase what all this is coming together as part of our strategic plan moving forward. So for our mission statement, to empower all students for success, Henry County Public Schools is committed to meeting the needs of the whole child, providing safe and supportive learning environments, leading through innovation, creating independent thinkers, and preparing students for college, workforce, military, and life. For our vision statements, to be the best community for students, staff, and families. We are committed to embracing diversity and inclusion, promoting good citizenship, developing future leaders, engaging all learners, and partnering with the greater community. And our core values, respect, integrity, excellence, equity, and we do put students first. As I was mentioning earlier, the Virginia General Assembly is in session right now, so we're waiting on getting feedback from the budgets that were passed today by the Senate and the House. They could be reconvening again April 2nd. This session is projected to end February 22nd. For a comparison of the current budget for FY25 going into FY26, the numbers that we have from the Virginia Department of Education for state revenue projected to come in with the governor's amended budget is $81,197,953 compared to FY25 at a little bit over $80 million. The local share is going to stay about the same as projected from the Virginia Department of Education on what their requirement is for local share. So this slide will represent to you an increase of about $1 million with the governor's budget amendment numbers that we have right now. With the governor's budget amendments, that budget is stating that we will receive funding for a 3% increase for staff and also increase for English language learners. To show you what the cost of the 3% increase, you see with teachers, the overall cost with the 3% increase for the base salaries and benefits is close to $48 million. For classified staff, it's close to $13 million. For bus drivers and aides, it's $4.6 million. For administrators, $7.5 million. And then with grants, we would absorb about $131,000. But the total increase for all those categories would be around $2 million. So with the state budget that we have right now, showing an increase of about $1 million, we would need to find $1 million within our existing budget just to do the 3% increase with the governor's amendments. But we do have other instructional and operational needs that we are looking at and trying to prioritize at this point. additional EL teaching positions, gifted education teachers, the dean of students at the middle schools, full-time substitute teachers for each school, the absorption of some grant salaries, funding for essential instructional programs, special ed positions to meet student needs, transportation and technology needs, utility and fuel costs. We'd like to have a facilities budget. Just a reminder, the 1% sales tax goes to new construction and renovation of schools, security upgrades, and continued funding for our resource officers. So the current budget for this school year, for instruction, we have around $73 million, administration $5 million, pupil transportation $9 million, operation $10 million, technology about $3.7 million, debt services is around $3.5 million, with our federal and state programs around $11 million, and contingency for $50,000, making our total budget right now $115,615,000. So the local effort for next year is still to be seen. Going back to the previous slide, you do see $0 in facilities. We are only allowed to put funds in our facilities budget that are over the above required local share from the state of Virginia. Last year, the total contributed from the local government was $22,611,428. When you subtract out the debt service number, the number equals exactly what the state government said the local government share should be, and that is $20,114,072. So we can only put money that is over that amount. So that is why right now you see $0 in our facilities category. So a comparison of funding moving forward, we do have an idea of what we may receive from the state. We do not have that number from the local government, as we will be working with the local government moving forward over the next couple of months. Grant funding, a lot of the grant funds do come from the federal government, so that's still to kind of be seen. But right now we're kind of leaving that number where it is. Other revenue of $1.7 million. So right now, that total budget number for FY26, we're still working on that. So for our Superintendent Advisory Committee feedback, we had 44 people participate in the survey that was provided. We had 13 Teacher Advisory Committee members take the survey, 12 support staff members take the survey, 7 parent cabinet members, and 12 student cabinet members. Committee members were asked to rank on a scale of 1 to 10 how strongly they support funding for instruction and operations. For this scale, 1 indicates they do not support funding, a 5 would indicate that they are neutral, and a 10 would represent that they strongly support funding for that program. This is a list of the programs they were given. This is not in any particular order, but we asked them how they felt about additional funding for early reading programs, special education programs, math programs, K-12, career and technical programs, facilities upgrades, English language programs, dean of students for the middle schools, safety and security measures, transportation needs, full-time substitutes for each school, extracurricular activities, technology resources, and fine arts programs. So for our Teacher Advisory Committee results, I'll just give you a minute to kind of look at that. At the top, you'll see the Teacher Advisory chose early reading programs to be the most important to them. Second, with Dean of Students. Third, safety and security measures. Fourth, math programs. And then fifth, full-time substitute teachers for each school. Down at the bottom for teachers was extracurricular activities. For our support staff, I'll give you a minute to look at that. The support staff felt that additional funds should go to special education as their #1 rank. Some safety and security measures, #2, early reading programs, 3, math programs, K-12, 4, English language programs, 5, and facilities right there in the middle, and support staff 2, extracurricular activities kind of fell to the bottom of their list. For our Parent Advisory Committee, I'll give you a little bit to look at that one. They had additional funds for early reading programs at the top of their list, safety and security measures second on their list, career and technical programs third, special education programs 4th, math programs 5th, and then transportation needs right there in the middle. They did have extracurricular activities a little higher on their list. Down at the bottom of their list was fine arts program. And then for the last committee that took our survey was the student advisory committee, and I'll give you a moment to look at that. And I thought it was neat to kind of see the difference between what students and so at the top of their list, you have extracurricular activities. Second was safety and security measures. Third, career and technical programs. Fourth, facilities. Fifth, math programs. Technology resources right there in the middle. They did not rank the dean of students very high on their list. And then this chart kind of puts it all in order. So coming into at the top was additional funding for safety and security measures with an overall average of 8% or an 8. Coming in second was additional funds for early reading programs, coming in at 7.9. So early reading programs and safety pretty much tied at the top of the list. But I'll give you a moment to look at that. But you can see with safety and security measures, students ranked at the highest out of those 4 categories, out of all the 4 advisory committees. With the early reading programs, our teachers ranked at the highest. Additional funds for special ed was our support staff group. Additional funds for math programs was our student advisory committee. Additional funds for career and technical programs. Students, again, kind of picked at the highest. Additional funds for facilities. Found this very interesting. The students were the highest out of all of them for facilities. And I take that as they're in schools every day, so they want to see good facilities. And then you see the additional funds for English language learners was pretty even across the board. Then we have additional funds for transportation. Coming at the top of that list, parents felt that was very important. I can understand that. We want to get our kids to school. Additional funds for full-time substitute teachers. Our students and our teachers kind of topped the list on that. So the students and the teachers see the importance of having those substitute teachers there. And we saw who thought the extracurricular activities should be at the top. And then for our fine arts program down there, you can kind of see how that averages out. So our upcoming meetings, we have the joint board meeting with the Board of Supervisors February 25th. March 6th, our school board meeting. Hopefully we'll have a budget to bring to you to approve. And then March 20th, a special meeting to approve the budget if necessary. Are there any questions?
Dr. Boone, I have one. I know I've seen this. I guess this is my 3rd time, and I keep forgetting to ask this question. When it comes to the 3% for teachers, we're talking about all our teachers, correct?
Yeah, it would be for all teachers. We would generate the scale to equal a 3%. So steps 1 through 30 would end up with 3%. So that scale would be increased where it represents 3%.
Right. Well, I'm 30 years or above. Last year they didn't receive the percentage that we.
Well, I'd say right now it would be an average of 3% across the board.
Right. But that's going to be for all of them.
It would be for the scale 1 to 30.
Right.
But we're working on everything.
My comment to you, and I thank you, Mr. Bradley, for filling in at me, pulling me into the public hearing the next day after the retreat. I was in Richmond meeting with our legislators and the budget. I felt like this is going to be like last year. We're going to have multiple budgets. This is not going to be a one-off. As you mentioned, the possible reconvene in April and ironing out the differences. The primary distinction, as I understood it, is the House Senate budgets include a bonus for our employees, at least the SOQ-based ones. That's one of the more significant differences. There's some additional other funding in those budgets, but that's the primary state of play in those budgets right now. unless you've seen or heard anything differently.
So that's a bonus in addition?
That is what, was presented, and passed.
Yeah, the Senate right now, they're saying in June, the House is saying in September, so it's still kind of, it's up in the air whether it might actually happen.
Yeah, Speaker Scott and, Mr. Hardy and I were at the Capitol Conference, came and announced that, all the board members that were there, they didn't intend for $1,000 bonus on top of.
Mr. Gravely, to answer your question about 3%, we would look at any combination, so we may do a 2% to the scale and teachers get a step, which would equal 3%.
Right,
But on average, out of all the teachers, it'd be 3%.
Yeah, make sure you're not gonna slack.
And I think the situation we're potentially looking at has been discussed, assuming funding availability would be, whether it be stipend bonus, et cetera, to deal with the compensation compression and the percentage situation. Any other questions, comments?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are up to, believe it or not, the consent agenda. Is there anything you all want to pull, or do you want to pass the block?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Second. And second by Mr. Hawker. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. That's unanimous. Okay, now we're unanimous. So we are up to the action agenda. So first up, we have the approval of the FY25 appropriation of additional state revenue. Mr. Weaver, Director of Finance.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The Virginia Department of Education informed school divisions of budget amendments introduced by Governor Youngkin for the 2024 through 2026 biennium, impacting the direct aid to public education and the Virginia Department of Education central office budgets. Enrollment data reported by divisions in the fall of 2024 were used to recalculate all ADM-based state payments for fiscal year 2025. Henry County Public Schools will be receiving an additional $551,164 in revenue for fiscal year 25. This is mainly due to the increase in funding in the Virginia Preschool Initiative. It is recommended that the adjustment in revenue from ADM-based state payments in the amount of $551,164 and the appropriation attached be approved as presented and forwarded to the Board of Supervisors. With the budget amendments for fiscal year 25, the local share has increased by $32,204 from $20,114,072 to $20,146,276 from the original fiscal year 25 budget that was passed in July 2024. It's also recommended the request for the increase of the local share of $32,204 be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors for approval. Are there any questions?
Anything? See a lot of no shaking. Okay. Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept this recommendation?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Gravely, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Brenner. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you very much.
I have a question about the motion. I guess my concern is.
Okay.
Board of Supervisors. No, that's fine.
I think we're going to discuss that further. But the next item we have is the approval to purchase weapons detection systems. Dr. Boone, Ben Boone. I'm going to get to doing a James Bond before we get over.
Good evening again. The background information that you'll see for the weapon detections and open gates is the same background information that was brought to you when we approved the weapon detection systems for our middle and high schools. We've been very pleased with those weapon detection systems. We've seen them used in other school districts as well. With that, with the sense of security that we have with those in middle and high schools, we'd like to bring those into our elementary schools for adult visitors during the day. So visitors that are coming in for lunch or parent meetings or other activities during the day. We would also use them for events like field day and awards. We'd like to purchase those for our elementary schools, and it would be one set for each elementary school. We'd have an additional set for our larger schools that we could take there, like Meadowview if we needed to. And then we'd have a set for the central office location for visitors coming in the central office. So in a continuous effort to provide a safe school environment for all activities for the students, staff, and community, it's recommended that the above weapon detection systems be purchased for all elementary schools using the Virginia contract listed and awarded to CEIA USA. The approximate cost for all the systems is $194,765.
Dr. Boone, ever since I got on the board, and even before I got on the board, one of my top priorities, might be my number one probably, is safety within our schools. So I feel like this is a very, very good item for our elementary schools. We can discuss this later after I make this motion, but right now I move to approve the purchase of weapons detection systems.
So we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Hardy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mrs. Springer. Now, any discussion before we vote? Yes, Mr. Bateman.
Dr. Boone, so I'm looking at the approximate cost for all the metal detectors. I'm guessing that's what it is, correct?
Yeah, the weapon detection system, just like you have in Magna Vista.
Am I correct? It says $194,765.
Yeah, that's for all of them.
Okay. Could I ask, what's the cost for each individual one?
It's approximately about $20,000 per system.
20,000?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a lot more than I was expecting. Okay, well.
That's a good question.
No good question. I was just wondering.
And I do want to reiterate for the public, this is just for the adults that would be coming in our buildings for elementary.
And by the way, Mr. Bateman, as I've always mentioned, the floor is open to you. You just can't motion or vote.
I got it.
All right.
I think this is appropriate with the survey being that it was.
Ranked so high.
Top weekend, yes.
I would like to voice one other thing, safety-wise. The lady that came up earlier talking about school safety, like she said, there was a lot of room between that parking lot and inside to those metal detectors. Realistically, metal detectors are not going to solve all the issues that we'll face safety-wise. Realistically, what we need is strong law enforcement presence and to make schools not a soft target. Because, I mean, there's been so many horrific attacks like on schools in the past 20-some years. It's been horrific. Like, you can look at ones like the Virginia Tech shooting. There's law enforcement they can't figure out what's going on, and then the schools were just a soft target, and then catastrophic loss of life. There needs to be a stronger law enforcement presence, and there needs to be change to make schools safer and not soft targets. And metal detectors help once it gets inside the schools, but it's not going to help just getting to those metal detectors. Once you're inside. A metal detector's not going to pull out a gun and shoot the shooter as well. There needs to be a stronger law enforcement presence and also figure out a plan to make schools a lot harder target to hit than just the soft little kind of cupcake target it is.
Thank you, Mr. Bateman. Any other questions or comments?
I'll comment to that. I go to Magna Vista every morning, and that school resource officer is out in the parking lot with teacher presence. I'm assuming Bassett is the same way. I know it's not, it's a huge parking lot, but I do appreciate that.
And they do have adults on duty in the parking lots and things like that to help out with the security piece.
Yes, sir. And I just want to say one more thing. Is it correct that it's usually only like 1 or 2 resource officers to a school? Is that?
We have one assigned.
Okay. It's just, again, it's a soft target because someone with bad intentions comes, they take out the one, the whole place is free to them. We need a stronger law enforcement presence in these schools because it's just so easy to do it realistically. It's very scary for a lot of kids a lot of times. So I'd just like to bring that to the attention as well.
Appreciate it, Mr. Bailey. Any other comments, questions from the board? Okay, if not, we've got a motion, we've got a second. Are we prepared to vote? All right, if so, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, unanimous, thank you very much. We are now up to approval of appropriation of additional funds to facilities. Dr. Boone, it is your again.
Section 22.1-100 Code of Virginia requires school divisions return unexpended state funds to the Commonwealth at the close of each fiscal year. Chapter 1, 2024 Special Session General Assembly overrides this code section and permits school divisions that have met the required local effort and required local match for fiscal year 2024 to carry forward to fiscal year 2025 any remaining state direct aid and fund balances that are unexpended as of June 30th, 2024. This language permits school divisions to use carry forward funds to address any revenue shortfall related to adjustments in state funding to the locality regardless of the original purpose of such funds. The adopted language requires that the state carry forward funds to be reappropriated by the local governing body to the school division's budget for fiscal year 2025. Chapter 1 also encourages certain local funds to be carried over into fiscal year 2025 pursuant to language in item 137B25 to be eligible to carry forward any local fund balances from fiscal year 2024 to fiscal year 2025. School divisions must meet the required local effort and required local match expenditure obligations in fiscal year 2024, which we have. Henry County Public Schools is requesting the reappropriation of $1,247,817 of unexpended school funds from the FY 2024 budget. The reappropriation of the FY 2024 unexpended funds or carry forward balance is requested to help cover the cost of the following projects: Field Collinsville Heating and Cooling System Project and items listed on the capital improvement plan. It is recommended that the school board approve the additional appropriation of $1,247,817 to fund the above-mentioned projects and forward to the Board of Supervisors for appropriation. And then the breakdown is below the cost of the HVAC system, and Mr. Scott's going to be bringing you that here in a second, would be $909,850.
I have a question, but I'm trying to figure out how to word it, to make sure I'm understanding correctly. This carryover money is not from local match funds,
It's from state funds that were carried forward.
which means we don't go revert to whatever the agreement we have with the county for. Those are local funds that we have an agreement with, correct?
Right, right. These would be state funds, in my opinion, state funds.
Okay. Thank you.
There's about 300,000 if you look at the overall carry forward and multiply that by the local composite index, there would be local funds.
Yeah, so if we approve this, we're gonna work out the logistics later, with the Board of Supervisors?
To my knowledge, it would go to the Board of Supervisors and they would vote yes or no on the amount of money that we would receive.
Although as noted in the code section, it's supposed to be a requirement, not a recommendation per se.
Right. Well, I'm just thinking in terms of some of the conversations we've had.
Correct.
Okay. Well, okay, I'm good. We'll approve it and then we'll see where it goes. Bottom line. Yeah, okay.
Any questions a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bradley. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous, thank you very much. Then we are up to the approval to award bid for replacement of HVAC along with new ceiling lighting and FC unit. Mr. Scott.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bids were solicited for replacement of the existing heating and ventilation system serving the locker rooms at Philadelphia Collinsville Middle School, along with new ceiling and lighting. This equipment listed in the bid has exceeded its life expectancy and is in need of replacement. As a matter of fact, I think it's original to the building. The replacement of this equipment will improve the comfort and indoor air quality for this area. Of the 4 firms that responded to the bids, Daniel Builders from Danville, Virginia provided the lowest bid of $909,850 and have attached the bid summary for your review. So it's recommended that the bid be awarded to Daniel Builders from Danville, Virginia in the amount of $909,850.
Questions, comments from the board?
And this is contingent on what we just voted on with the Board of Supervisors approving that, correct? Move to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Third, do we have a second?
Second motion.
Second by Mr. Hardy. One question I have, previous experience with or recommendations of other than just lowest bid, Mr. Scott?
Right, yes, sir. So Daniel Builders was involved in a portion of the Bingo Tech, and they also they were the ones that installed the greenhouse here.
I thought so, but just wanted to.
Yes, sir.
I just threw the cheese.
Right.
All right, so we've got a motion, we've got a second. Any other discussion? If not, all right, if you're ready, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous, thank you very much. And now we're up to, and I joked about this, an agenda review, the auditorium seating that we have you in to be replaced. So approval to award a contract for that, Mr. Scott, still yourself.
Thank you. Part of our safe and supportive learning environment strategic plan is to look for opportunity to improve our learning environment in our schools for our students. Our team has identified the need to replace the auditorium seating in both Bassett High School and Magna Vista High School. Commonwealth School Equipment from Moseley, Virginia currently holds a contract with Henry County Public Schools and has offered a total quote of $660,720 for removal and installation of the new seating in both high schools. And it's recommended that a contract be awarded to Commonwealth School Equipment from Moseley, Virginia in the amount of $660,720. And as you saw during your tour today, you can see we've got a few missing.
Questions, comments, et cetera, from the board?
How often is the auditorium used, or like, I know we used to have events in it when I was in school, but how often is it used currently? Sorry.
Refer that to Mr. Mayor.
Sorry. Make it work tonight.
Come on down, the price is right.
I don't mind coming down and speaking. It's used on a regular basis. Like this morning, we had registration set up and we converted it back to this right here so we could conduct this business. But it's been used every day this week. In this building, there's actually classes that are held in here on the stage and in this space as well. But anytime we have class meetings, we have guest speakers. We had a guest speaker last week. Anytime we have class meetings to start the school year, start the new semester, we do those as well. So it's used on a regular basis. And with the number of performances we have in here, it's a needed upgrade. I mean, I think these are the original seats from 1978 that we sit in here.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the auditorium seating replacement.
Okay, motion by Ms. Greger.
Second.
I saw Mrs. Whitlow's hand.
It's fine.
Okay. We got a motion, we got a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, unanimous, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Scott.
Mr. Scott, before you sit down,
You said you were gonna work, you got it.
Well, I just, we just approved 2 capital projects, and I guess just for public information, what is the process that we use in determining what capital projects that, is gonna be recommended to the board for approval? How do we do that?
Yeah, great question. So one of the tools that we use is our facilities assessment that we do every 10 years, just to kind of regroup and see where we are with our facilities all together. We also do a roof survey, of course, which you all approved the Laurel Park roof last time on it. So we use that, we look at how many work orders have been created with that, the life expectancies of equipment, and then we're still working off some of our capital improvement plan from the previous one we created due to the funding. So we're still trying to get caught up on that as well.
And that funding usually through, moving money around and then possibly that 1% sales tax that we own, correct? And I say that because I'm just thinking in terms of, well, you mentioned Laurel Park roof. That was done through the 1% sales tax, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the field houses, that was 1% sales tax, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And a great example, I think, for this as far as the funding goes, and Mr. Alker, please forgive me for this, but it's the Bassett High School renovations. As we went through many years trying to pull from different areas to try to get this thing done, and it took us a long time. And so whatever funding sources that we can do to kind of find that and follow that capital improvement plan to the best we can, that's what we grab for.
That's right. Okay. And since we don't get lump sum funding, then we have to request that from the board of supervisors, correct?
That's my understanding. Dr. Boone? Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Make sure I answer those financial questions
Right,
properly.
right.
Mr. Weaver,
Okay. I mean, if we had a lump sum funding, then we could just do what we want to do without having to go back as well. Right, okay. Just want to make sure.
I like referring to that as Mother May.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are up to G, the superintendent's reports. Dr. Blake, please.
I want to just remind Mr. Clifton, this part is not brought up publicly, so I know this is his first time doing this for us. But I do just have a few highlights to share with you. I will start with something that missed being added to this document. Today I was speaking, actually yesterday, with Nurse Lisa Gardner about rising cases of influenza in the community. So in response to that, I asked her to put together a posting that was shared out on Parent Square today, just reminding all of our parents of the spread of influenza and what are some of the best practices to combat that. I know earlier this week we had several teachers out, a number of students out. I'm happy to say that those numbers seem to be declining now, but we still need to be vigilant with watching the spread of influenza, RSV. COVID doesn't seem to be as prominent at this time, but still just some basic things with hand washing, covering coughs, disinfecting and wiping down. I know Mr. Scott has been really good with making sure that our buildings have been thoroughly cleaned, especially in these last couple of weeks, to make sure that we are doing what we can to combat sickness and illness. So also you'll see in my report just some monthly things that are going on. I would like to invite the school board members to our 3rd floor Super Bowl tomorrow at lunchtime. That is going to become an annual event for us, so if you are available at lunchtime tomorrow, if you would like to join us, please stop by. I believe we have 5 different crock pots of soup, and I'll be going home to make cornbread muffins, and so it'll be a fun time of fellowship there on the 3rd floor. Our principals meeting is coming up next week on the 11th. Again, you are always invited to that event as well. We'll be continuing our strategic planning process. And so if you would like to be part of some of that conversation, we would welcome you to join us for that. It will actually be held over at the Career Academy, and we begin at 8:30. I'll be attending my monthly Region 6 Superintendent meeting also this month. Our Elevate Leadership cohort is continuing. That is through a grant from the Harvest Foundation in collaboration with the Center for Creative Leadership out of Greensboro. This will be our third session with principals and division leadership, and I'm pleased to report that it is going very well. We're having lots of positive response to that. Our Henry County Public School Job Fair is scheduled for Saturday, February 22nd. Ms. Lane, I believe it begins at 9:30? At 10. Okay, I'll be there at 9:30. But it does begin at 10 o'clock, and so we have posted that, and we are getting lots of people who are reserving time slots and registering for that event. So we are hopeful for a good job fair. The Henry County Public School Education Foundation, that was mentioned earlier by one of our public speakers, we are scheduled to meet again on February 24th at 6 p.m. So if you would like to be part of that conversation, of course, you are welcome also. And then February 25th is our joint budget session with the County Board of Supervisors. That will be at 5 o'clock in our boardroom on the 3rd floor. And so I hope that all of you have marked that on your calendar to be present. Dr. Boone and I are collaborating on that presentation, and we'll certainly be updating you through BoardGram as to the progress there. There is a link there once again for my monthly visit to schools. Thank you to those of you who have come out recently and joined me on school visits. It's a highlight of every month for me to make these visits to schools, and I'm always happy to have a board member to join me. You'll also see a graphic there for the Martinsville Henry County Chamber of Commerce. The Fast Track event is coming up. It's scheduled for March 4th and 5th. Mrs. Easley is spearheading that effort again, and so we already have our design in work, and we're going to have a wonderful showing with that again. I mentioned our strategic planning earlier. We'll be doing that through our principals meeting. Just as a reminder, I shared the draft vision and mission statement with you at our work session. Dr. Boone also shared it this evening as part of his presentation on the budget. It is still out for public feedback. It is on our website, and it pops up as a banner as soon as you go to our website. So we invite members of the public to take that quick survey and give us some feedback on our vision and mission statements. All of our advisory groups have reviewed it. They've had a chance to give feedback. Mr. Hardy was present at student advisory earlier this week, and the students were able to give their feedback as well. The last thing that I have as part of my updates is just a reminder of federal immigration enforcement policy changes. I previewed with the board a letter that was sent out to all stakeholders in Henry County earlier this week, but I do want to take a moment to just read that here in this public setting. School administrators have recently received questions about the potential for immigration and customs enforcement activity at our schools following President Trump's executive order removing protected area status from schools and churches. Here is a brief outline of how this change will be addressed within Henry County Public Schools. Number one, Henry County Public Schools will cooperate fully with any immigration and customs enforcement officer or any other law enforcement official who presents a valid warrant or court order with proper identification. Henry County Public Schools will continue to adhere to all requirements of the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, also known as FERPA. This law prohibits schools from sharing personal information about students without parental or guardian consent, except in emergency situations or when court ordered. Number three, Henry County Public Schools has developed a division-wide protocol for each school's principal to be the designated point of contact for working with ICE or law enforcement officials to make sure that the school is cooperating fully, that legal processes are followed, and that our students are treated fairly with dignity and respect. This protocol will be shared with school division staff, and training will be provided to all school administrators and their designees. We want to reassure our families that the safety and well-being of each student remains our top priority. If anyone has questions or needs additional information, we encourage them to reach out to their child's school or other staff, and we always remain available to offer support and to connect families with additional resources in the community. And just a quick note to the board, there is time dedicated during the next principals meeting to review our response protocol and available resources that can be shared with our families. And I know that Mr. Gardner has been consulting with me on our communications, and he is here with us tonight if he has any additional guidance or questions from the board.
Nothing to add other than policies and protocols. I've also vetted through an immigration specialist in our firm, and I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
And I'm also confident we'll probably end up discussing and close it with.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, we are up to committee reports. And in order, first curriculum and instruction. So Mr. Bradley, Mr. Alford, what you got?
No report. That's mine. Unless you got something.
No, just carrying on what we did last month in, the Warrior Tech and Bassett and trying to follow through with all of that. So it's been,
All right, well, finance and facilities, Mrs. Whitlow, Mrs. Durkin.
We did have a committee meeting, however, we went over the budget development presentation that we saw tonight and the entirety of the action agenda, so.
Yeah.
Everyone else took care of that report for us.
Student services, Mr. Hardy, Mrs. Brenner.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Brenner and I do have a report, but hers is a little bit different than mine, but she has a super good report, but let me go ahead and give mine first. Mr. Martin and I had the pleasure of attending a Capitol Conference on January the 27th and the 28th, 2025. We had the pleasure to talk to and see Senator Bill Stanley, Delegate Eric Phillips, and Delegate Ren Williams. Although time was limited for us to visit, we appreciated the opportunity to visit these fine gentlemen that are so important to the education of the Commonwealth of Virginia. On the day before we went to see our delegates, they had special speakers there, and I'd like to make a couple of points here. And those points are very important, I think. And you might look at it a different way than I do, but 5 main things that I took out of this meeting the day before was that, and cigarette smoking has really decreased in the United States. And that's not just for adults, that's for young people too. And that is something I am very glad for, because my dad, he died because of lung cancer, and it came from cigarette smoking. 16% of our youth has used alcohol in the last 30 days. That's something that we might be able to talk about in school to our students. Prescription pills that are not prescribed to our youth are mostly and commonly used by our children at home, not out in the public. As we know, and this is number 4, fentanyl is a very deadly drug, taking the lives of our young people each day. However, fentanyl is not from the doctor's office, but usually comes from young people and out on the street. And number 5, and this is really a great one here, the General Assembly will be taking a hard look at providing more resource officers for our schools. I don't know about Henry County, but they are looking at it statewide. It would be wonderful, as Bryce mentioned a few minutes ago, if we had more resource officers. So maybe that will happen someday. Ms. Brenniger's report, she has done a lot of research on this. I have looked at her report, and I am really impressed with it. And it does not relate to mine that much, but it is something that the board will have to consider within the next few weeks, I think. So right now, I will turn it over to Mrs. Brenniger.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy.
The part of our committee report for me is we had reviewed some options for the football, soccer field replacement with 3 different options for sod, and it was brought up the option for turf. Because of that, that presents actually 4 options for us to consider, and found a grant that would be, if it could be used in time and obtained in time, which is gonna be part of the problem, and that's for facilities to figure out, make budget to figure out. But we want to consider that option and not just omit it, because there are pros and cons to turf. With some of the discussions I've had with staff, coaches, athletic directors, and even doctors in the community, because I know there were concerns of safety for that. We found that some pros to the turf would be year-round usage. There's no worry of that. There is no surface issues or concerns from weather for games or events like graduation. If it rained the night before, we would not have to worry about things we do if we have sod. Increased use for field houses is a possibility. The field houses are new. It's not something we're redoing. This is gonna be a new thing for both schools. So we don't know exactly how they're gonna be used, but from talk is practice fields are not close to the field houses. Practices would still be held on the practice fields, and field houses would likely be used limitedly during practice days. If turf were the case and we had turf, they'd use the fields daily for practice. The field houses would be right there for soccer and football, and it would be maximizing the use of the field houses for sure. It would also be more aligned with other schools in our region. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in our region alone that have turf fields that our teams currently play on when they go to region Mecklenburg. They play every year. The cons to turf would be the upkeep for repair, replacement, and the life of the turf. However, which you save in maintenance on the side could make up for a lot of that cost. Additional concerns that really don't fall under pros or cons were the safety concerns. With the turf, currently we play on turf at some schools, and soccer plays on the complex, and even football goes there for, I think, the 5v5. So they do currently play on turf. And honestly, the condition of the fields currently are a safety concern. Shoes for turf versus sod, you don't have to have specific shoes. Most of them use the regular cleats now. It can wear down the turf more, but it's not a requirement, and our team currently uses their current cleats at the complex and at Mecklenburg when they play. They don't put on different cleats to play. And upkeep of sod was a concern, as well as the longevity and affordability. Will the installer be coming in weekly were some of the questions that came up to maintain and mow the sod once it's there. I know we've discussed, and that may be something Mr. Scott can answer when we do come to vote for that, is we know that the options that were presented, the person who's doing that work is going to help with that, but are they gonna be the ones mowing it weekly and taking care of it weekly? And if not, are we gonna be back in the same situation we're at in the next 5 or 6 years with sod? And turf would not require as much upkeep. So the next steps, we'd ask to consider the grant option and apply for that for the turf fields. We are on a time crunch for them to be able to play football season this year and soccer. But at the same time, we would like to consider turf. I'm just a proponent for what's best for the kids and for what's safest and affordable. If the grant isn't doable and it's not affordable for turf, I personally, it's not gonna be a yes for me because of the cost. Because we do have to consider the facilities budget is zero.
Thank you very much. So our student school board committee, so Mr. Bateman, I know we've been putting you to work and all. Do you have a report?
Not necessarily, no.
Got it. Well, I appreciate that. We'll come around next to board celebrations. So we're up to I on the agenda. Mr. Gravely, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just want to, I guess, acknowledge and thank the board for the participation we had in our retreats. lot to think about and really start to really focus on the work that we do. So I just want to thank you guys for participating, the norms and protocols that came out of that. I mean, it was just great work on the board's behalf. You know, again, I just want to thank everybody for participating. You know, I guess my only question with the norms and protocols, now that we have those and we, in the consent agenda, we approve those, is that something that we're going to acknowledge before each meeting or have it posted as reminders for each meeting or what? And I say that because, you know, my work with norms, typically when we have a meeting, we would always go over the norms first. So I don't know.
I can just say, I know you and I and Dr. Blake Lewis and even some others discussed that. I'm fully supportive of that. I don't know if I want to do like, what is it, like 2-3 pages?
No.
But, you know, a condensed version. I know it's kind of that one-page start. So maybe that or something like it. I'm fully supportive of. I won't vote though, but yeah.
Well, and that's, I'm sure that because, you know, here again, that's part of the process. You know, what you guys think? Or if we just had them posted, when we start our meeting, we bring it out just like we bring out the laptops and the mics.
Mr. Vice Chairman, if I may suggest, one of the things we do with norms as part of our principals meeting is they are part of the agenda. So we could certainly list them as a point of the agenda, and it could be a simple affirmation by the board that they agree to abide by the norms as adopted. Just be a simple statement as to that effect.
That takes care of the, you know, it being long.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Grevin. Mr. Walker.
I have a couple of celebrations. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for sending out the FBI, the CIA in the last minute meeting. I thought I had told someone that I was going to go to Magna Vista and to watch the JV game because my grandson plays in the JV. There were those there. Mrs. Bringer's husband, I believe, emailed her or texted her or whatever and said, "We found him." So I do appreciate that. You know, sitting on this board, you get into a lot of trouble. You know, people disagree with you or whatever the case is. And I want to tell you that I am not running for re-election. I've been on this board for 12 years. I've seen this board go from hardly any money to spend on education to where we are today. You know, it's interesting in some cases, we just need to learn to see what we can accomplish. And I didn't mean for that to be a speech or anything of that sort, Mr. Chairman, I do. Thank you, though, for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Mrs. Whitlow.
Well, I feel like I have a speech.
Okay.
I don't want it to be a speech.
The floor is yours.
So, over the last couple of years on the board, I feel that we have always tried to do what's best for our schools, our teachers, our students. Because in every board meeting, that's what we talk about is what's best for our school communities. So there are positives, and I know that you know, it would be nice sometimes to have speakers that speak on the positive of what we do. I made a decision 15 years ago to go from administration in Henry County to transportation in Henry County. It was one of the hardest jobs that I've ever had to do. Ms. Vestal's aware because we drove those buses, didn't we? And then COVID came. I knew I needed a change. I was getting burnt out. I went to a surrounding county, did transportation there during COVID. Again, that is a job that is a 24/7 job. And I can assure when there's not a driver to come pick up a child, it's not that there's no one left in the office to answer the phone, that's for sure, everybody would be out driving. My family made a decision that something had to give, so I needed to start looking back into administration because they were tired of me always being on the phone or not at home and working. If there was a job open in Henry County at that point in administration, I would have definitely come back and tried for a position in Henry County. However, there were not, so that's when I made my move to Patrick County Public Schools, which is where I'm in administration now. So being said that I've been in Henry County, Franklin County, and Patrick County, here are some positives for Henry County that I've seen over the course of a couple of years that I've been in surrounding counties. Over the last couple of years, Henry County's worked hard to catch up teachers to be on the appropriate step. We've also looked at the green study and made sure that we've given equitable percent raises throughout the last couple of years when other surrounding counties were getting nothing. We do have SROs within our schools. Could we always use more? Most definitely. But you could put armor around our schools, and if somebody has the mindset that they're going to do something to get into a school, they would go to any means necessary. So being vigilant with our staff and our resources that we do have, I think that having metal detectors in our schools is definitely a positive attribute to the amount of protection that we want for our staff and our students. There's practice runs done throughout the year with lockdowns, not only within the schools, but we do have the police department work with us, and they do actually some live lockdowns, pretending that there is a shooter and knowing the buildings. They have maps of the buildings. So to say that our schools aren't safe, I would put us up against about anybody. Henry County teachers love kids. You don't teach if you don't love kids. You have to love them before you can teach them. So if you're a Henry County Public School teacher and you don't love kids, then we probably should have a conversation, but you cannot do this job every single day of your life and not love and want to support children. Is it easy? Most definitely it is not. It's one of the hardest jobs that you're gonna have. Your patience wear thin, but when you look at that child in the eye and you know what they could possibly be going through at home, you're going to love them, and you're gonna support them, and you're gonna do what's best for them. Some other things, insurance. Employees in Henry County Public Schools, insurance is paid. There's not many surrounding counties that you're not paying a couple $100 a month to support what your county is paying. That's always a positive. You have bereavement days. If somebody passes away in your family, you have, was it 3 bereavement days? Surrounding counties don't offer bereavement days. You take a sick day. If you do not have any sick days, you take the day without pay. Substitutes, which I appreciate as a principal, are managed through central office staff. There's days that I'm driving to work trying to manage substitutes for my building that day, and they're very limited. So there are days that we're pulling TAs, I'm substituting, or what have you. But Henry County does have that option that central office staff is working tirelessly in the mornings to make sure that we have the substitutes pushed out to those schools as needed. We have reading specialists and instructional coaches in each school. The county that I'm in now, we share that per county, the whole county. Itinerant teachers are in school. When I taught PE for 15 years, there were years that I taught 3 schools per year. I was at a different school every 9 weeks. That's changed. We have itinerant teachers in all of our elementary schools, which does allow for the planning of the teachers, which is a positive thing. Transportation has updated software. They always have new buses that are on target. They're safe buses. They have multiple stop signs. Money has been put into our transportation department to make students safe on the bus. Parent Square is one of the most effective forms of communication a school division can use. Guidance counselors are now dedicated to students throughout the day for support. Henry County Public Schools has the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, which is available for employees and their families as needed for mental health support or counseling. Our students get free breakfast and lunch all year long. There's opportunities in the summer. And if there's a snow day, we try to make sure we get those out as well. I feel like we're constantly making improvements on the facilities in Henry County Public Schools, and we also have committees for all school community groups to share their concerns and thoughts. Education is not easy. I want everyone to be happy. They need to let us know why they're not happy. What more can we do to make our teachers happy? Next.
Thank you, Mrs. Wood. Mrs. Derringer.
I just want to first thank Mr. Minter for taking his time and resources today and spending so much showing us around. You know, we got to see the update on the field house, some new spaces within the school, and obviously we got to see the band and the JROTC, and I'm very thankful for that, Mr. Minter. And I wanted to share, well, I guess say thank you to Dr. Blake Lewis. She has consistently been very encouraging for us as board members to walk with her on a daily basis if it's something that we're interested in. I had the opportunity to go to a couple of schools with her in the past few weeks for her to meet with principals. I did tell her fairly last minute. She welcomed it with open arms, and I don't come from an education background. My perspective on the board is from somebody that works in finance and as a parent of children in the school system. So to say that I was impressed is definitely lacking of a word. I very much appreciate what you do, your communication with the principals and the teachers, and how quickly you're able to assess situations. It was definitely a blessing to be able to see that, and if anybody hasn't, I definitely recommend taking that opportunity to do so. And lastly, it's not necessarily a celebration for me, but after our public speakers and Mr. Ocker, I just want to be clear in a few years ago when our census changed some of our districts, my neighborhood was redrawn into Reed Creek, so I am not able to run for the Collinsville District School Board seat this upcoming year. And I am really looking forward to seeing how I can help in other capacities, but I'm not eligible to do so.
Thank you. Mr. Carter.
Mrs. Whitlow, that was one of the best comments that I have heard on the board since I've been here. So
We're really on the way here. I was
my
like, Ms. Whitlow, just
commendation.
keep your mouth shut, Whitlow, just go with it.
Really did well. Mr. Chairman, some of my comments might be repetitious tonight, but I will say them, try to say them in a little different way, though as they won't be quite the same. The Lower Park Middle School Choir Department has 30 students that recently was named to the All-District, They will be going to Virginia Tech to participate in the statewide competition on this Saturday. This is what I think is really great about this. The Smith River Singers, one of the best adult groups that we have in the state of Virginia, and they are local. They are from Marshall and Henry County. They are going to furnish the food in order for the choir at Laurel Park to go to the Virginia Tech. So I really salute the Smith River Singers for doing so. Also, they are short on water, so I'm gonna take 2 cases of water down there tomorrow, and maybe some of y'all might want to too. As Dr. Blake Lewis said, I did attend the student cabinet meeting of the morning, and I was very impressed with each member on the student cabinet. But most of all, I was more impressed with Dr. Blake Lewis. I can understand now why she probably was one of the best teachers in her school system. She had a special way to get information out of those students, and it was almost unbelievable to me. Also, I want to congratulate our Mrs. Meeks and Mrs. Easley because I have called several times over at the school board office, and usually one of those people are the people I ask to speak to. If they cannot tell me what I want to know, and usually they can, they will tell me where I need to, who I need to contact. So I really appreciate Mrs. Easley and Mrs. Meeks. The robotics competition hosted by Bassett High School on January 26th was definitely a success. I think it was about 50 schools, about 30 schools that participated. My congratulations to Magna Vista High School for placing in the top 10 of the competition. And finally, the last thing I got to say is we have stated tonight already by Dr. Smith, Career and Technical Education Month is during the month of February, but also from February the 16th to the, yes, I got it right. February the 16th to the 22nd is National FFA Week. I expect all our FFA chapters to celebrate this week in their given schools. National FFA Week is always held during the week of George Washington's birthday for his commitment to American agriculture. George Washington was born on February the 22nd, 1732, and he passed away at the age of 67 in 1799. On February the 22nd of this month, President George Washington would be 293 years old. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Ms. Brenner.
I want to start with thanking Mr. Minner for our tour and your time and everybody who contributed to setting this up today. I know this was a little bit of extra work and we do appreciate it. And even though it probably gets us out of work a little bit early, I like the idea of going into the local schools and having that community specifically come to our meetings. And I hope that we do explore this and continue. As well as I learned during our tour, since this is February and Valentine's Day is coming up, the schools will be selling flowers. So make sure that you get your loved one, doesn't have to be your spouse or significant other, but you can get somebody something and support the schools. The SROs, I would like to recognize them. I did give Lieutenant Keller something for you guys, so make sure you get that from him. And thank you for all your hard work. I think it's only one left in here. Everybody had to go do other stuff, but thank you for your hard work in keeping the schools safe. It is very important to me. That was one of my platforms, is safety and mental health for the schools. And I agree that the more resource officers we can have, the better, but the ones we have are fabulous, and I think they go through extensive training and are here for the betterment of the schools and to keep them safe. Along with that, the mental health piece is part of what the problem is for people to even get to the point to want to make it unsafe for the school system. And thank you to Mr. Gravely for giving me some connections. And I have a Zoom meeting scheduled with Kelly Coble from Piedmont Community Services to get this 24-hour hotline hit the ground running and ready for the students so that they have access to text for 24/7 if they're in a mental health crisis or have any issues, and hopefully this will help combat the safety issue in the schools.
And any, Ms. Bates?
No, sir.
Okay.
Stay quiet.
You'll stay quiet on this one?
Stay quiet.
Okay, I got you, Ms. Bates. The good, the bad of putting myself last is so many of you had so many good things to say that I had the page length of things written down here. So I'll just kind of hit some highlights. Mr. Gravely, as you mentioned, I'm very appreciative of the board and its time in the retreat. I do want to echo, I know some of you also sent about Samantha Bosserman, our trainer from the VSBA. So I want to echo our appreciation for her making the trip down to Charlottesville and how well that went. Similar, of course, the various recognitions, Career and Technical Month, our clerks, our SROs, the robotics event, which I thought was very well. I know Mr. Hardy attended, Mrs. Whitlow attended, we didn't attend at the same time. Dr. Blake Lewis, Mr. Minner, and all the extra work that went into that. As mentioned, the meeting locations, currently we are looking at FC for next month, then Magna Vista, then Laurel Park, month by month by month, based on preparation as well as where they stand for status of projects. Do know that if we're going to change the meeting time, we would have to make a vote on that. So if anybody needs it to be 6, let us know so we can take that action. But okay, so I'm seeing head nods no. So we'll keep it at 5:30, most likely similar to this one, kind of a 4:45 or whatever time to meet and do the school tour and other interactions prior. So if possible. Then let's see what have I still got here. Thank you, Mrs. Brenniger, for looking into the turf, and I had assigned that to your committee as well as Finance Facilities. Finance Facilities, I very much understand that you had the entire action agenda and the budget. I understand. We do plan to come back to that matter here in sometime in the next meeting or so. I will say there's definitely differing, just temperature checking the board, everything from bronze to gold to turf, and depending on if the grant, if this, if that. So we'll get it together, but we're like that right now. Of course, want to also point out, as mentioned, appreciation for the efforts on getting the foundation going. Echo, I believe, Mrs. Darden, I know Mr. Hardy, and some of the rest of you as well, the school visits with Dr. Blake Lewis. I will also note that, I'm impressed by, I want to shout out that, when we got the messages about all the flu and the absences for both students and staff, I didn't anticipate getting a message from Dr. Blake Lewis that she was substituting the FC at the time. I didn't expect that. So I just want to give a shout out to the now I picked at her, I'm like, I love this for today, but if you do this all the time, I got a problem with the superintendent. But, I just want to note that, and I will say FC staff reached out to me and talked about how they were very appreciative. And not just the teacher who was being substituted for. As Mr. Hardy mentioned, very appreciative of him joining the Capitol Conference and giving him a tour, or as Bill Stanley referred to me as Champ Hardy's tour guide. I also want to mention quickly appreciation that some additional accessible playground equipment was installed at Stanleytown. Got some very favorable commentary from parents there. Also note that our, as I mentioned to you before, the grant that the local Lions Club has done with the State Foundation, as I understand it, was approved for $10,000. It still has to hit the international next board meeting where they'll approve potentially up to, as I expect, nearly $100,000 on top of what was already raised in the community and the money we're talking about. So hopefully grants like that can continue to support, whether it be playgrounds or other items that we have going. It's also one of the benefits of the foundation, as one of our speakers mentioned as well. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything on my nice little list other than, again, I thought it was a really great touch and appreciate Mr. Manor, Dr. Blake Lewis, and others arranging for the band, the JROTC color guard, the FCA, the football, all of that. I'm very much looking forward to, as Mr. Brenner mentioned as well, us replicating that at other school sites and throughout our community. So as far as I know, I've went on and hit all my points, and I think you all had quite a few great ones as well. That said, I don't think I have anything else other than certainly the reminder of dates. As mentioned, the 25th, we've got that joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors and on our floor. Then on the 6th, we'll get these updated on the website, but we're looking at FC for the next monthly meeting. as Dr. Lake Lewis mentioned, the next Blue Ridge Regional Meeting, will be in Franklin County. You're encouraged to attend. I will say that's one thing I'm kind of glad of my VSBA time. These were, rather consistently held in Radford, or Virginia Tech. And, I was of the position, particularly if I was gonna be the chairman, what's happening in Martin, Henry County, Franklin County, Patrick County, this, that, the other. So we're, moving around, but nearby. And trust me, if you go look at that regional map, it's a pretty big region. You could end up several hours away to go to one of these things. So having next door, a great opportunity to, interact, and gotta give a tip of the hat to, Mr. Hardy for last year, and I think Mr. Milner has stepped out, but, making sure our art, competition entries are in has been a long-standing tradition of this, school division and, this fall. With that said, then, you know, in the conferences, I'm trying to see, is there one coming up? I've got a couple, that have both, in-person or virtual options, so you might want to consider, those if you get the chance. So that brings us up to K, and that is closed session. And so we have, for the purposes of 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, for the discussion of the appointments and separations of personnel. 2.2-3711A7 of the Code of Virginia for consultation with our legal counsel pertaining to actual or probable litigation and discussion of pending legal matters, as well as 2.2-3711A2 of the Code of Virginia for the discussion and consideration of religious exemptions. Do we have a motion to go into closed session for those reasons?
So moved.
Mr. Bradley beat you, but you want to be the second, Mr. Aubrey?
Second.
All right, you'll be the second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, we are in closed, so